Well, again, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. It's always exciting to have people come out and ask questions and be engaged and see what's going on in their communities. One of the things with the presentation, not really doing questions during the presentation, but when we finish up, if you have questions, we'll be over at the boards and be able to go through those with you, sort of maybe one-on-one, and try and help answer any questions that you may have. But again, this is the Route 220 Safety Improvement Project. Again, starting here, Route 43 on the southern end of James River here, so starting close to the 43, going all the way through Gala, up past 696, and then just south of Iron Gate. So that's the limits of our project that we're working on improving here. It's about 10 miles, about 9.5, rounding up 10 miles. The actual improvements are affecting about 8.5 miles, and the reason for that, I'll get into that here in a minute. There's a segment that's already being worked on. One of the things that we end up looking at on a project like this is where are accidents happening, where are crashes occurring. We want to try and put a project in place that solves those problems. And so we've gone through and looked at this, and if you haven't been at any of our other meetings where we had our citizens information meeting or our public hearing, we talked about the multiple phases, and we do have, here as you notice, we have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and I always get beat up on, well, why doesn't phase 1 start at the bottom and phase 2 and phase 3? Why aren't they going sequentially? And if you look, phase 1 in here is where we have the majority of the accidents. 44 of the crashes. That's where we focused our money in trying to do some of our repairs and then work out from there. Phase 2, again, has a significant number of crashes. So again, that's our second area that we're working on. And then as we move towards the north toward Iron Gate, phase 3, it certainly has crashes, but not as predominant as the other two areas. So that was our logic in how we're trying to move through doing our repairs in this corridor. Let me back here for a minute. One of the things, again, that we are dealing with, a majority of the crashes are roadway departures. So, and then we have animal crashes, rear ends, and then other things, sort of as a quick summary of the type of crashes. So we've tried to look at ways to improve this road to help minimize those types of crashes. We can't always take care of driver inattentiveness and things of that sort, but there are things that we can help a driver better understand what's going on. As you may notice, if you've driven 220, there's another project that has some work going on out there. And that's actually a project inside of this one. It is a separate project. They're actually removing two bridges, narrow bridges, and widening those with box culverts. So a wider structure is going there. And one of the things that here are those structures, the narrow structures. Generally, if I'm approaching one of those, I slow down if there's a tractor trailer coming towards me. They are tight, so we're trying to get rid of those structures. That's what's happening now. And that is actually happening just north of 43 and south of Gala. So that is work, about a $9 million project that's in addition to the $79 million that we're spending on the project that we're here talking about today. So again, initial estimate, $150 million. That's what we were working towards. Ended up getting $79 million in available funding for this project. And what we had to do, we had to look at how we were going to take and target our improvements through here to take that $79 million and apply it to basically 10. And again, that's where, as we'll work through this, you'll see some of the differences in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, how we're taking that $79 million and doing a substantial amount of work in phase 1. Remember, that's where we saw most of the crashes. Some work in phase 2. And remember, we're already spending about $9 million in phase 2, replacing those two bridges. So we're already doing some additional work there in phase 2. And then the remainder of the money up in phase 3 to continue doing improvements. And also going through this process, one of the things to help us speed it along, again, every time the longer we wait on getting the project done, that's a safety improvement that's not implemented. So what can we do to make these safety implements happen faster? We're using what's called a design, build, procurement process. So as opposed to designing the project, acquiring right-of-way, and then building it, we've developed plans that you see over here at about 30%, so they're conceptual plans. So the design, the right-of-way, and construction will be happening concurrently. They'll be going on sort of simultaneously, not one waiting on the other to be finished, such that we can get more work happening out there sooner than later. And that also allows us to take into account the contractor's perspective, because they're working hand in hand with that engineer and their design. So some of those constructability issues can be worked out sooner than later. So hopefully, again, making that opportunity to start moving dirt sooner than later, basically, again. So moving more faster with the project. Again, $79 million is what we have. And I was talking about, we were looking at $150 million. Don't have it. Have $79 million. We don't want that money to sit there while we try and wait on other money to show up. We want to take that $79 million and put it to work on your road right now today. And that's what we've been doing with our design and also working through our procurement process, that design-build process, working with contractors. Right now we have 3 contractors that are a part of that process that we're working through. So again, we've looked at this, where do we really need to focus on safety improvements and how they're being applied to that 10 miles. One of the things here again was, as you know, there's some reverse S curves in there. I believe below Dudley's Flat and north of 622, 722, reverse curves in there. Somewhat a little awkward. That's probably an understatement to try and get through. Again, that's an area that we're looking to do some major realignment. Remember, that's phase 1. That's where I showed you most of the crashes, right? That's where we're spending a good chunk of our money doing some realignment to improve that. And then also, so again, doing realignment, focused realignment efforts from Gala to Route 696. Again, that was phase 1. So that's where we're really trying to focus our work, making a flatter and straighter alignment. And then as we move into phase 2 and phase 3, trying to reuse some of that existing pavement, make it wider, giving you wider shoulders. Remember, one of the things I said was roadway departures, people running off the road. So making the pavement wider, also doing some minor correction to the alignment, but otherwise those alignment, that snakiness is not really much existing in phase 2 and phase 3. It does a little bit north of phase 3 there, just south of Iron Gate. It gets really tight in there. You feel like you're almost driving against the guardrail in one of those areas. And having driven a tractor trailer through there when I worked for my dad, it can be very tight. So again, we're looking to try and optimize our money and do improvements where we can. And so looking at that area still to do a little widening through there. And again, when you look at the boards over here, I hope you take an opportunity to look at the boards. You can see some more of what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's hard to visualize what exactly am I talking about, but we tried to get that represented in our boards back here. Another thing is intersections. Had talked about realigning, redoing every intersection in all the phases. I had $150 million when I started out. I got $79 million today. So we re-looked at those intersections, reanalyzed them, and looked at what's the best way that we can use that $79 million to do improvements. And so looking at constructing left turn lanes at those 4 intersections. Again, a left turn lane allows you to get out of the way of that potentially tractor trailer barreling down on you from behind, and you're trying to make a decision, do I cut in front of the car that's coming towards me, or do I have time to sit there and wait? And driving a tractor trailer, you're thinking, oh, I hope the car gets out of my way. So now we're giving them a place to get out of the way. Sit there so you can make that decision to make that left turn when you feel comfortable to do so. Also, Kelly's Market have been some concerns there in terms of how the tractor trailers pull in there, people leaving that area. So we're looking to do some access management there to try and better control the flow of what's happening there. Not limit access necessarily to it, but improve that access to it and people leaving. One time we were looking to do a realignment of 696, make those offset to one another. Again, that's when we were looking at the $150 million, have $79 million. So what can we do to continue to make this a safe intersection, but without the cost of realigning it? So we're providing left turn lanes there at 696. So you're still getting the left turn lanes, but not the full realignment. So we're still reducing that initial concern that we had in terms of accidents. Also in Gala was looking to have a 2-way left turn lane through Gala. One of the things that we've done with that design build option is we're putting that as a option on the contract. If prices come in low enough, they're giving us a price to put that two-way left turn lane in there at Gala so that you can again move out of traffic, turn into the convenience store, turn into any of the other properties there. But if the prices come in low enough and we have enough funds, that's the price that they're giving us. What would it cost extra to do that two-way left turn lane? So we're looking at that as part of our bidding option process. So one of the things that we're doing here is your roadway out there. One of the things that we've heard at our public hearings, you're very close to the opposing traffic coming towards you. It's a standard yellow line out there. That's what you have today. What we're looking to do is you're going to have a 2-foot wide center line. So a much greater separation from that oncoming traffic. And then also, so our travel lane will be 12.5 feet. So you're 12.5 feet of travel lane. And then also looking to have 4 foot of paved shoulder out there. And then also a rumble strip on that outer edge. So a wider travel lane, a center line rumble strip, with also raised pavement markings, and then a rumble strip on the outer edge. And then looking, in most areas we get 8 feet of graded shoulder. Remember, roadway departures, run off the road accidents was one of our predominant type of accidents. And what can we do to solve those? Well, we can't do everything, again, there's people texting, things of that sort. So there's things like that that we can't overcome as engineers in our roadway design, but we can help people realize when they begin to run off the road, hear that rumble strip. And that's a trade-off between what it's doing to the neighbors in that community as it is to what it's doing to protect that person driving that car and potentially running off the road. So we're hoping that by giving that wider lane and offset from that white line, that people aren't driving on them all the time. But when they do deviate from that travel area, they're going to hit that rumble strip and they'll hear that and hopefully correct themselves. Another issue has been people crossing the yellow line. So we've created a greater separation, but we've also put a rumble strip in that. And what you have right now is that rumble strip is pretty much the yellow line out there. So if you deviate a little bit in your travel lane today, you're probably going to hit those rumble strips. What we're looking to put out there tomorrow is a wider lane and greater separation from your travel path, your tires from those rumble strips, such that it takes a little bit more deviating from that travel lane to hit those rumble strips. Also, we have raised pavement markers that are going in there. So at nighttime, bad weather, hopefully the reflection of your light shining off of that helps you out. As well as we're actually having wider paint markings going out there in terms of our yellow center line. So again, we've looked at this and tried to optimize this with the money we have to take care of the concerns that we've heard and hopefully create a much safer road out there. One of the things that in doing this, in constructing our project and trying to stay as close as we can to the existing alignment means that on occasion there will be one lane of traffic. So there's the one lane of traffic issue and the inconvenience, and not only inconvenience, there's frustration, there's a whole level of things that go along with one lane of traffic. We're trying to minimize that, but again, maximize the amount of money we have. The longer we take to construct it, that's cost more. So if we can narrow that construction window and have these safety improvements implemented sooner by going with one lane in some cases, that is a trade-off that we've had to look at and try and work with. And we've worked with our contract to try and limit how long of a duration that will be. And we're working with, remember I said this was a design-build contract. So the contractor is going to finish the design, so some of those details are still to be worked out, and we're still working through once we get a final contractor on board. But again, those are things that we've been looking at on ways to save money, understanding that they do cause problems. I shouldn't say problems, do create frustration levels, and create some level of inconvenience of having to travel one lane. But again, it's given us the opportunity to take that $79 million and do more safety improvements. Again, not doing questions right now, sorry, but we can get to that here afterwards once we break up. Current plan, what we're looking to do looking to award a contract to the design builder, spring 2017. Later this spring, hope to have a contractor on board. They've shortlisted the contractors. We had 3 firms that were shortlisted that have been working on the design and also price proposals. That is a process that's moving forward. Once they go through, we'll end up submitting a price proposal. They submitted technical proposals. Those get evaluated, get scored, and then we'll select a contractor, and then the contract will be awarded to them, and then they'll get started with finishing the design, starting on right-of-way acquisition and construction. But our thing here is we're looking to basically late fall 2017, early spring 2018 is when you would start to see construction happening on this project. That would be our expectation once we get underway with the official design build contract. And then looking to have it all completed August 2021. And if you were at the CIM back in March of 2015, we weren't even looking to start phase 2 until phase 3 until 2022. And now we're looking to have all 3 phases finished before the end of 2021. Again, what we've done there using design build, taking our $79 million and targeting that on specific improvements, is what we've done to try and move this project along and hopefully get the biggest bang for the dollars that are out there. So again, I appreciate you all being here. I really thank you coming out on tonight. I know it takes time, but your interest, your being here is very important to help with the process. If you have time, please take an opportunity to look at the boards. If you have questions, please feel free to step over to the board, ask one of the people that has the VDOT name tag on, or step up here and talk with me. But again, I really cannot say enough about you taking time to be here tonight. I really do appreciate that, and thank you all very much, and have a good evening.
And again, I just encourage, just as Craig had said, take time to go through the boards. There's many people here with the project team. Susan Hammond and Dan Collins that I pointed out, the resident administrators in these areas handle pretty much anything about the roadway. So even if you have a question about a transportation issue that's not on this corridor, certainly they can help you with whatever might be a maintenance concern or anything else. So again, thanks for coming out tonight, and we look forward to spending some time with you around the presentation.